Before embarking on any new project, the filmmakers made it a habit to scrutinize a script before committing to it. Typically, a screenplay would span between 90 and 120 pages, but when they saw that this one only contained 67, they were intrigued. It seemed more like the length of a television pilot than a full-length feature. That unexpected brevity inspired them to take on a challenge, to create a horror film that defied convention in both structure and execution. The script itself was far from ordinary. It contained maps, illustrations of the farm, and graphic layouts that complemented its unusual storytelling approach. Despite its unconventional presentation, the foundation was there for a remarkable narrative one that would evoke genuine terror while avoiding the cliches of traditional horror. Determined to push boundaries, the creators stepped outside their comfort zone. Their concept dated back to their college years, when the seed of the idea first appeared, a quiet horror film with little or no dialogue. At the time, the idea felt more like a stunt than a sustainable story. Only years later did they realize the theme could resonate more deeply, a reflection on family, humanity, and survival. They began envisioning a single family torn by emotional rifts, set against a world where silence meant survival. With hopes of attracting skilled performers, the team moved forward. None of them expected the project to reach the level of success it ultimately achieved. Around that time, John Krasinski entered the picture, fresh from signing on to another significant role. After some early video call discussions, he began to express interest in both acting and shaping the story. When he proposed to play the father, and also to write and direct, the producers immediately recognized his vision. His natural understanding of the material convinced them he was the right filmmaker, one whose own experiences of new parenthood gave authenticity to the film's emotional core. The production's central question was simple but profound. What does it mean to live in complete silence? The filmmakers explored how this restriction could heighten fear, driving the story's emotional stakes. They decided to set the film within a rural environment, reminiscent of their native Iowa, complete with cornfields, barns, and quiet isolation. Krasinski found the perfect shooting location, transforming an abandoned property into the movie's living world. The crew planted corn, built practical structures, and even closed local roads to maintain realism. Every detail was constructed physically rather than digitally, bringing the environment to life in 3 dimensions. Visually, the director approached the story with the broad sensibility of a modern Western spare, vast and grounded in human connection instead of exposition. Working with cinematographer Jeff Cutter, he built a visual language that relied on atmosphere rather than words. His experiences as an actor also informed his direction. Understanding performance from within helped him guide others with precision and empathy. Casting proved equally intuitive. At first, the team dared only to imagine Emily Blunt in the lead role, convinced she was beyond reach. Ironically, Blunt herself later read the script during a flight and insisted that no one else could play the part. Her decision marked a turning point for the film and for the couple's collaboration. As husband and wife working together for the first time, they were nervous about mixing personal and professional worlds, but the shared creative trust deepened their bond rather than straining it. On set, they balanced vulnerability and strength, translating their real-life connection into an authentic portrayal of partnership under pressure. The casting of Millicent Simmons and Noah Jupe as the children brought further depth to the project. Simmons, a young deaf actress, brought authenticity to the role of Reagan, while Jupe's natural talent grounded the sibling relationship in genuine warmth. The production relied heavily on American Sign Language, requiring all actors to learn and practice gestures precisely. Real interpreters ensured accuracy, and Simmons herself often suggested improvements, turning signing into a vital element of atmosphere rather than just a means of communication. The 2 young performers developed a genuine friendship on and off camera, which strengthened the emotional realism of their scenes. As shooting progressed, the sense of family extended behind the camera. From the design team to the cinematographer and editor, everyone contributed passionately to a shared vision. When filming intense sequences, particularly the childbirth scene or the scenes involving silence and tension, the crew responded with complete stillness, witnessing moments of raw performance that moved even the most seasoned professionals. In the finished film, the themes of protection, forgiveness, and resilience stood at its heart. Krasinski viewed the story as a testament to parenthood, the instinct to keep one's family safe at any cost, while Simmons interpreted it as a journey of a daughter forgiving her father. Emily Blunt's character embodied persistence and life, bringing light into a world consumed by fear. Ultimately, the story celebrated courage, connection, and renewal amid despair. Every member of the production felt the same sense of unity, that they were building not just a horror film, but a profoundly human story. By the time the project wrapped, gratitude and pride replaced exhaustion. The film had become the perfect harmony of vision, trust, and fearlessness, an unlikely masterpiece born from silence. The production began with enthusiasm and purpose. The team worked from an existing spec script, one that initially leaned more toward horror. Yet, the essence that captivated everyone was the central idea of family, how this family learned to communicate and survive together in silence. The imagery of carefully laid sand paths for quiet movement conveyed the depth of that concept. The story's potential lay not only in its premise, but in its challenge, telling a filmic narrative almost entirely without dialogue. The director's initial concern was how to make the story compelling. But soon after filming began, that very limitation, the absence of spoken words, became the film's defining strength. On set, the crew discovered a profound power in quietness. The natural sounds of the barn, the forest, and every space within the story came alive on their own. It became clear that sound design would play an enormous role in shaping the film's atmosphere. During production, the cast and crew had to adapt to an unusual discipline, operating in near silence. What began as a constraint turned into a meditative experience. They learned to listen to running water, rustling trees, and the natural world around them while performing. The soundscape itself became a world to explore, and every tone, rustle, and breath took on new significance. The more the team experimented, the clearer it became that in horror, sound could be the most powerful visual effect. They explored the extremes of silence, creating moments when even background noise disappeared. The first attempts at this caused nervous laughter, initially mistaken for technical malfunctions, but the emotional consequence proved extraordinary. The sound designers faced the paradox of crafting a quiet film that demanded more precision than any explosive blockbuster. Every faint sound, from footsteps to breathing, carried immense importance. The Foley team captured microscopic details to make the silence itself feel immersive. Audiences responded strongly, some even reporting heightened awareness of real-world sounds after leaving the theater. Creating contrast between complete silence and subtle environmental noise became a central artistic goal. Since the story's creatures existed in a world largely devoid of animals and human activity, sound choices were carefully restricted to insects, wind, and the remaining traces of nature. By subtracting familiar noises, the remaining sounds gained new psychological weight. The post-production sound team, accustomed to large-scale action films, found this small, intimate project refreshingly demanding. They experimented with shades of quiet, redefining how fear could be conveyed through sonic absence. Attention turned next to the creature sounds. The filmmakers debated for months how an alien that hunts by sound should itself sound, or whether it should make noise at all. The collaboration with experienced sound designers brought clarity. The creatures would inhabit silence and emit minimal, meaningful noises. Volume was used sparingly, so that each screech or click would disrupt the stillness like a sharp blade. Music composition entered late in the process. The score, written by a composer known for emotionally resonant action films, was designed not to dominate the film, but to support it in the background. The music's role was to lift emotion when necessary, then fade to let the family's quiet performances breathe. The creative team agreed that modern audiences rarely pause to listen. The film sought to restore that sensitivity. In scenes without dialogue, such as simple walks through the woods, the act of hearing became central to the experience. Every captured sound invited awareness. By the end of production, the filmmakers realized that the most actual power of their story resided not in what was seen, but in what was heard, and even more, in what was not. The process of designing a creature proved formidable. Every idea seemed familiar, every concept had already been seen, and the team struggled to find something truly original. One of the designers decided to gather all their ideas and invite collaboration, determined to create something new through shared effort. John, the film's director, envisioned a movie that would unite audiences through collective emotion, allowing them to scream together, laugh nervously, and feel the tension build as one. This approach gave the project a distinct energy and freshness. Securing Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, as the visual effects company was a significant achievement for the production. Their involvement elevated the film and made the experience memorable. Working with ILM was described as a magic moment, given their reputation as one of the best in the industry. Throughout the process, John drew from advice his father once gave him, the notion that one of the most confident things a person can say is that they do not know. This humility served him well, as he had never directed a horror film or worked with visual effects. The production became a series of discoveries built upon moments of uncertainty. Visual effects supervisor Scott Farrar, known for his work on the Transformers series, joined the team and helped shape the creature. His presence on set was invaluable. Everyone recognized that significant visual effects alone could not carry a film. It was strong storytelling and compelling characters that ultimately made it succeed. During their first meetings, John emphasized restraint. He sought to tell as little as possible, for as long as possible, so that the audience's imagination would remain active. The team embraced that approach, focusing on subtlety and tension rather than overt spectacle. Together, they developed a mysterious backstory for the creatures, pondering their origins, evolution, and physical design, but deliberately withheld these details from the audience to mirror the character's own limited understanding. Beecroft and his team led the creature design, ensuring every component, even those built for the set, supported the story's realism. Since the narrative centered on a family forced into silence, the team made the creatures blind and hypersensitive to sound. This concept guided their biology creatures evolve to destroy anything that made noise. Inspiration came from natural forms like the nautilus shell, whose structure and response to vibration influenced their auditory anatomy. John encouraged experimentation, but ensured structure. Early animation tests explored bird-like movement with sharp, staccato motions, though these ideas eventually gave way to slower, heavier creature behavior befitting its hulking form. The creature's head became a focal point, covered in layered plates that opened to reveal a hearing organ resembling an exposed inner ear. This design mirrored the complex curvature of human hearing mechanisms and lent itself to both function and horror. Creating the creature was a long, evolving process, requiring countless iterations. The director experimented personally writing, sketching, and even mimicking crawling movements on camera to visualize motion. Nature documentaries and prehistoric sea life heavily influenced the final shape, as the team sought forms that appeared otherworldly, yet biologically plausible. On set, the challenge grew, since the creature did not physically exist. Actors often worked with stand-ins or motion capture performers, guided only by imagination and by scheduled deadlines. As production continued, the visual language found its rhythm, and the work itself began to direct the decisions being made. John's love for classic and Hitchcockian cinema shaped many suspense sequences. Scenes like Emily's bathtub moment relied less on technology and more on emotional authenticity. Initially, the team intended to reveal little of the monster, but as the visual design developed, it became too compelling to hide. One of the film's most haunting moments depicted the creature moving silently through water, transforming it into a lurking presence reminiscent of a shark. The combination of natural water disturbance and careful digital compositing created one of the film's most potent and believable sequences. Years of experience within ILM honed the artist's discipline, pushing them to create creatures that audiences would perceive as real. The project became a celebration of cinematic tension and crafted a rare opportunity for ILM to explore the horror genre. By the time production concluded, the filmmakers felt immense satisfaction with the final creature. It embodied their collective vision, terrifying, believable, and entirely its own creation.